Hey, before we jump in today, I want to ask you a simple question. What if the reason you feel behind is because you've been sprinting the race that God set before you instead of just running? I don't know about you, but culture is obsessed with speed. And me too, if I'm being honest, at times, I love speed. I want to get through it as fast as possible. I want to get from point A to point B with the least resistance. I want to figure out how can I maximize something and be the most efficient so we're wasting no time. I get it. But culture is obsessed with speed, fast growth, faster results, faster breakthrough, faster everything. And if you're like me, you've probably felt that pressure, right? To hurry up, catch up, even when you don't even know who you're trying to catch or what you're trying to get there so fast for. But hear me, you're not alone and you are not behind. Okay. Just remember that you're not alone and you are not behind. You guys, welcome to the Kingdom Family Movement Podcast. I am your host, Sam Velasquez, and I am super excited because today I'm going to intentionally, to the best of my ability, slow things down on purpose because God moves at the pace of transformation, not the pace of culture. And if we truly want that transformation in our lives, we've got to be willing to slow down. Now, there's a caveat to this. I'm not saying we don't run. I'm not saying we don't, be intentional because God tells us that we are to all run the race that's set before us. That means we all have a race we're running. That's unique to us, but it doesn't mean we're to hurry. It's not a sprint because it tells us we're to run the race with endurance. If you're tuning in for the first time today or finding this podcast, just know we are about one thing here at the Kingdom Family Movement Podcast. We are simply about the mission of restoring God's original intent for the marriage, family, and home. And I think today this is so applicable for anybody, truly, because it's rooted in principle, because we can all learn something from the idea of slowing down. There's people who just carry peace. Do you know what I'm talking about? You get around them and you think time just slows down. They never seem to be in a rush. And you almost gravitate to that. I mean, maybe it's just me. One of my favorite things in the world, and, I've done a handful of things, talked to a lot of people, but really my whole life, I've always enjoyed the idea of talking to people older than me, but especially for those who were born in the 40s and 50s, for where I'm at in my life on the timeline, man, I really love that. Something happens to me when I'm around them because time it slows down. They're never frantic. They're never hurried. They're never trying to sprint through life or prove anything. You ever notice that about people who are older? It's like they've learned something that we've forgot. And it's simply that probably sprinting is overrated and sustainability is wisdom. You see, I was born in 82. That makes me 43 if you're doing the math. But every time I talk to someone, in their 70s and 80s, it's like something about my soul is like, I feel like I was really born in the 50s, right? I mean, physically, I was born in 82, but my soul is more in alignment with like the 50s. And maybe it's just nostalgia, but because when I'm around people like that, right? Peace shows up, presence shows up, clarity shows up. And I guess here's the reminder of why I'm even bringing this story to the table. Because as a kid, I loved being around old people, and to this day, it's the same. And I have that same feeling, but it seems they carry it without saying a word, right? They seem to carry peace, presence, and clarity without saying anything, even just being around them. They just seem to be okay with the pace that things are moving. And from the outside, it's like it seems very slow, but very peaceful. They're present and there's clarity. Remember this: life is long enough for what matters most. I'll say it again. Life is long enough for what matters most. But the antithesis of that, or I guess the opposite, as I was saying, is culture does love speed, right? See, the lie is to hurry up, to go faster. You're behind. See, we live in a world that whispers constantly, right? The enemy whispers constantly. And maybe you're familiar with that voice, right? It sounds like, stuff like, you're not doing enough. You're running too slow. You're behind everyone else in life. You need to catch up. You should have been further along by now. I can't believe you started this business and you still haven't hit the level of success everyone else has. I can't believe you are doing X and you're only this far along. You see, that voice is so constant and sometimes gets very loud. But remember this truth, because kingdom and the biblical truth says something entirely different. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." That's in Psalms 46:10. Not hurry, not hustle, not sprint, be still. I love Dallas Willard. I think he is one of the, at least for me, most memorable in the context of this idea. And he's a great thinker when it comes to spiritual formation. But he said this: hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. And we can just blow over that. And I don't want to necessarily get too deep on that, but just think about it. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. Because we live in a life, even in a good context, we live in a culture where there's this one thing, and as soon as it's done, it's like next, and then that gets done, and then it's next. We go from here, then we go to there, then we go to this, then we go to that. I got to hurry. Can I be honest? Today has felt so hurried, so rushed. And a part of me, even before I recorded this, was saying, man, I really am excited about this. I just want to slow down. It's like, oh my gosh, we just live in a world that hurries. And here's why we don't want to hurry. Hurry fractures the home. Hurry can break the heart. Hurry crushes the soul. You see, and that's why I think my soul just loves being around somebody who's born in the late 40s, early 50s, because it like rejuvenates my soul. See, hurry kills intimacy with God and each other. It kills relationship. Man, we want to just get in, get out. Okay, here's why sprinting doesn't work in real life. Okay, now I looked this up, I broke it down, and I find this to be phenomenal, and I hope it can really help you because I want to bring the context between sprinters versus marathon runners. I really looked this up. I honestly wanted to break it down so it wasn't just an idea. Like, this is actual facts. Okay, so when I'm saying sprinters and marathon runners, these are sprinters at the Olympic level. These aren't just your random people out there running fast track athletes necessarily. Now, sprint's a sprint, but I'm talking this is the elite of the elite. You see, a 100-meter sprint lasts seconds. Okay, seconds on average. Okay, 10 seconds. Imagine that. I'm just giving you a baseline. If the average 100-meter sprint lasts 10 seconds, okay, well, a life calling lasts decades or essentially a lifetime. See, and if you're trying to live like a sprinter, you'll collapse long before you ever reach what God's designed for your life. And yet we think we need to get it all accomplished in a 100-meter sprint pace. So I broke it down. Think of it like this. If a sprinter, an Olympic sprinter, was going to run a marathon, I want to give you the breakdown and the difference. But understand this, a sprinter needs 5 minutes of rest, okay, for every 100 meters they sprint. And guess what? When they recover after 5 minutes, okay, it says that they're only at 70%, not even 100%. So I'm even giving them more of the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so every time they sprint 100 meters, they got to stop, wait 5 minutes before they even get to 70% recovery rate to then sprint again. But let's just assume it's 100%. Okay, that means if a sprinter was trying to run a sprint pace for a marathon, it would take them 36 hours to finish a marathon because every time they sprinted at the top speed, they'd have to rest 5 minutes after 100 meters. An elite marathon runner who's trained to run endurance pace running, which is still extremely fast, let's be honest, okay, is just over 2 hours versus 36 hours. Now, listen, I know this is just facts based on sprinters versus marathon runners, but think about that in the context of our everyday lives. inside of our marriages, our relationships, our homes, our spiritual life, everything we're doing. Maybe it seems a little bit rocky and rough because we're trying to do everything at a 100-meter sprint pace. And we need to learn to find our quote unquote marathon pace. Okay. I did this for an ultra marathon too, just for fun, because if you don't know, an ultra marathon is 100 miles. Okay. Something I never aspire to do. I could change my mind. I don't like to say never, but at this point, I'm pretty confident I'm never going to run 100 miles. But if a Olympic sprinter at a 100-meter pace were to run a 100-mile race or a 100-mile ultra marathon, guess what the breakdown would be? This is wild to me. It would take that same sprinter, and I'm not taking anything away from 100-meter sprinters. It's phenomenal to watch those Olympic athletes run a 100-meter sprint. It's crazy. But for the metaphor, if we were to do that for an ultra marathon, it would take us almost 6 days. It would take the Olympic athlete 6 days, the 100-meter sprinter 6 days. Okay, roughly 6 days, just shy of 6 days. But a world-class Olympic level ultra runner would finish that same 100 miles in 11 hours. What's the point? Fast looks impressive. But when it comes to our life, when it comes to our marriage, our family, our spiritual life, everything that God has called us to and designed, remember this: while fast looks impressive, steady builds legacy. And I don't know about you, but I want to look steady. And that's why I love talking to older people. Something about it is like reminding me, man, they are running with endurance. It doesn't look like they're going fast, but they are consistently moving forward. You see, maybe you're sprinting through your marriage and you feel exhausted. Or maybe you're sprinting through parenting moments and you just feel burnt out. Or you're sprinting through the calling, the thing you believe God's equipped you to do. And you just know this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, but you're sprinting. And so when pressure hits, you crack. But remember, God designed for us to be steady, to run with endurance. And if we want to be in alignment with that, we need to run the race set before us with endurance, because that builds strong homes, strong families, a strong future, and brings a generational impact that I think is beyond our ability to truly understand. So here's the meat of this that we need to remember is that you're not behind. You're being built. You're being grafted. You're being shaped. We're all being shaped. If life feels slow right now, if you feel behind, if you feel like you're not moving fast enough, then hear this from my heart. Slow is not behind. Slow is not failure. Slow is not God forgetting you. Slow is just often the exact pace God uses to shape us, to mature us, to help us build strength in our everyday lives, in our marriage, in our home, right? It helps us align with our families. It helps us stay rooted in our faith. And ultimately, when we are going at the pace God designed for us, it helps us be more prepared for what's coming next. I love what A.W. Tozer said. He said, never hurries. There are no deadlines against omnipotence, omnipotence. I don't know why I said it that way. God never hurries. There are no deadlines against omnipotence. If God isn't in a hurry, then why are we? And I know why we are, because I told you earlier, because culture drives it. The world drives it. We praise it. We almost think if I can get this done and accomplish this goal in record time, people are going to like me more. I'm going to be all the things. It's just not true. Okay. And I'm not saying we never sprint, but it can't be our go to. We need to find an endurance pace that God set for us, because what God really cares about, let's be honest. Okay. Culture celebrates speed. God celebrates faithfulness. He celebrates steadfastness. Culture praises big leaps. God praises daily consistent steps. Okay. Culture wants overnight success. And listen, we are all part of the culture we've made up that God put us in, but we got to distinguish. And I'm human. I would love for overnight success. But would I really? Or I just think that's what I want? Because what God wants is over time transformation. God builds things that last. And the truth is very simple. You're not behind, you're right on time. God doesn't measure progress in miles, He measures it in obedience. He doesn't measure your pace, He measures your surrender, right? He doesn't measure your accomplishments, He measures your alignment. You see, if I said, look what I've accomplished, look at all of the things I have and that I've done in record time, man, that would not be good if I did it out of alignment to the purpose God's put before me, to the race that I'm to run, and I wasn't obedient in the process. Man, I don't want that for nothing. Take all the success in the world at the fastest pace ever known to man and just throw it out because I want to be obedient and I want to be aligned. Because when we are, we get both. God wants us to be successful. So it doesn't mean if we're running our own race at the pace God set before us and we're doing it with endurance, obedience, and alignment that we can't be successful. No, it means that we're going to become even more successful than we could have even imagined. Okay, so think about this for a minute. How does this maybe apply to your everyday life? How does this apply when we think about a steady, kingdom aligned pace for the inside of our four walls in our marriage, family, and home? Well, here's what it looks like: slow conversations that build healthy intimacy. We actually are connecting inside of the conversations with the people that we care about most inside of our four walls. We have unhurried mornings, right? That begin to set the tone for the home environment, presence over performance, consistency over intensity, rest instead of rush. And when I say rest, I don't mean the sleep rest. I mean, we are peaceful. We're at rest in our spirit instead of rushing, anxious, worried, uncertain, all the things I struggle with that again, we are human. But it's grace instead of guilt, okay? Rhythms instead of pressure. This is the pace where homes actually begin to see transformation, where families begin to build strong foundations, where marriages strengthen, right? And we set and begin to build legacy for our kids. It's where faith actually grows. See, this is the pace that really brings about revival inside the four walls. You guys, if I can encourage you with just one last thing, a full stop, let me just say this as clearly as I can articulate it. God is not disappointed in your pace. He's not frustrated with your timeline. He is not comparing you to anyone else. He's leading you at the speed that forms you, not the speed that breaks you. And ultimately, as the title of this podcast says, you are not alone. You are not behind. You are right on time. You guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. And as always, if this speaks to you, do me a favor. Hey, send this to a friend or someone who you know could use the encouragement. Maybe you've come across someone who is feeling burnt out, tired, exhausted, wants to maybe throw the towel in per se. Hey, share this episode with them. I would appreciate it. And I know they certainly would appreciate it as well. If you would like to connect even more, hey, I put the link in the show notes as always, where you can find ways to connect with us weekly through our weekly email, our weekly podcast, and of course, follow us on our socials, as well as if you are in a place where you're saying, you know what, I feel like it is ready to move the needle. I am ready to do this without rushing, without hurrying, without compromise. Hey, do me a favor, sign up for a free 30-minute coaching call. I would love to walk you through our Kingdom Family Movement framework and see if it would be a good fit to help you, or good fit, not foot, but a good fit to help you move that needle in a way that is not rushed, not hurried, but actually brings transformation to your life. You guys, again, I appreciate you for tuning in to the Kingdom Family Movement podcast, and we will see you on the other side. Peace.